Welcome back, everyone. This is Aluminum Taylor. Thanks so much for joining today. We are getting back into the swing of things. I have recently done the Taurus and Sagittarius readings. I'm now going to jump over to Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising for the month of August 2025. We're just going to take a quick sneak peek into what's going on for this month. You can use this pretty much for 30 days after receiving this reading, but time is fluid, so basically we'll just have to go with the flow on this one. If you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates from future postings, and also block them spammers. You know exactly how to do that, and you know the drill. So what we're going to do, we're going to just see a little bit about what's happening with Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising for the month of August 2025. What is taking place for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the month of 2025. August 2025, sorry about that. Time is fluid. It's also something that's not my strongest point, depending on if I have to actually be somewhere or not. I'll show up early, but usually it's because I need to make sure that I've gotten there on time in the first place. Anyways, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the month of August 2025. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the month of August 2025. What messages do we have for our Aquarian water-bearing friends for this period? So let's see. Start with the first. What is Aquarius' energy? What is Aquarius' energy? What is Aquarius' challenge? What happened in Aquarius' recent past? What happened in Aquarius is in the future. What will happen? What is at the core of Aquarius' energy? What is at the crown of Aquarius' energy? And what is likely to be the outcome for August 2025? Clarify that. Okay, so bottom of the deck we have the Fool in the reverse. This talks about not taking a risk on something specifically to have a new start or a new beginning. So this is kind of holding on to the status quo. It's also allowing for the person not to complete one cycle and move on to another cycle. This can be typically from someone who is afraid of taking risks, or someone who may not see that the risk is worth it. So they hold back slightly from going on this new endeavor. So whatever that new endeavor is in your life, you would understand what that is. This is simply just the energy that surrounds or encapsulates that whole message. Now what we do have here, we have the Three of Pentacles in the reverse for your current self. And you have the challenge here, which is basically the Six of Wands in the reverse. So what I am seeing here, and this is just intuitively what I'm getting, is that you have found that it is very difficult for you to overcome or deal with certain situations in which you have felt that you have not succeeded in life in general. You feel that people have not been working with you, so now you are disconnecting yourself from the greater world. Instead of being a team player, you're going off and doing your own individual path. And additionally, if you feel that life has become a bit difficult because people are uncooperative, say for example, colleagues have become uncooperative, you go on dates and those dates are uncooperative, you're just kind of like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it too. I'm just going to return the energy I've been receiving over the last such and such period. And because I don't see any kind of victory, I don't see any kind of celebration coming from the efforts that I'm putting into certain things. So this is why you're taking a step back and you're focusing on yourself. So Aquarius, just to keep you keep you in the know, this is your card. Your card is the full card, Aquarius. Sometimes it's associated with Aries, but I do like to associate it with the Aquarius most, as it is more so of an air sign card. Looking into that, what we have in the recent past, we have the Seven of Wands, which is talking a little bit about something where you yourself were trying to defend a previous success. So you had Six of Wands, which is the challenge. The Seven of Wands normally comes after, of course, counting from 1 to 10. And with the Seven, it's about defending your position at the top of the hill. And so maybe you felt that you had, achieved a certain level of success. You have, arrived at a point in your life where things seem to be stable, grounded, and overall, you felt like you were at your best self. But now, the challenge came for you to defend yourself. We'll talk a little bit about what that challenge was. Clarify the Seven of. You should go back and check the Lionsgate reading because this card also came out. This is Death. So something that you were defending came to an abrupt end. Well, not an abrupt end, but it was over time you started to feel something slipping away from you. And like with most death processes, this is providing you with a transformative period where you can do something new. So any aversion or resistance to change is now being met with universal cosmic forces, forcing you to change. This was in the recent past, so now you're looking back at that and you're saying to yourself, okay, well, I've really tried to cling on to something and I tried to make it work, but it didn't work out, so I'm just going to have to go with the flow, roll with the punches. And if not, I can then, try something completely different. But of course, with the Fool in the reverse being at the bottom of the deck, this is something that you're still clinging to or holding on to. What we have here in the near future, if you're not careful, and I kind of take this as a warning. This is the Emperor in the reverse. And what this talks about in the near future, if you keep trying to fight to preserve something, you're going to eventually be met with a loss of control. We can go ahead and clarify it just to see what it's all about. Clarify the Emperor. So at the bottom of the deck, you have the King of Wands. This also came out in the Lionsgate portal reading, so go ahead and check that if you can. This is the Queen of Wands here. So you have the King of Wands underneath, and then you have the Queen of Wands in the reverse showing up here, along with the Emperor reverse. So this is about a period in which you were kind of knocked off your high horse. You are thrown to the ground in front of everyone after your Six of Wands moment. And you're embarrassed, you're feeling, vulnerable, feeling shaken by the situation. With that loss of energy, it's, the Emperor can sometimes be, becoming a tyrant in order to hold on to control. But I see this more as, you losing that control altogether. And then feeling like your confidence has taken a massive knock due to that, whole situation. I'm hoping it's not taking place in any career or finance situations. I'm hoping that, there's a positive outcome to this, but we can check. Where is this going to take place for Aquarius? Another Aquarius card comes out in the reverse. We have the Star in the reverse. The Star is about, being guided towards what it is that you want to do. Having the faith, the Constitution to be able to go towards your guiding light. And unfortunately, when you have turned off your GPS, you've switched off your sat nav, it becomes difficult for you to go towards the goal that you have been trying to achieve. Whether that's buying a house, getting a new job, keeping the job that you've got, finding the right woman or right man or person to be in a relationship with, it becomes difficult for you to achieve that goal because, with this loss of power, you are then trying to find out whether or not you should get back on that horse to try again. And it can be difficult, especially when things get shaken up. I'm not getting a tower moment, but I am seeing that this is a long process that has eventually caught up with you. We have here in the core of your energies, we have the Nine of Wands and the Three of Swords. So this is a situation in which, again, it's been long-standing. You know it's been long-standing because in your core energy, you're tired, you're restless, you're weary. And it's a lot of times due to the heartache that you have had to deal with over the last few years. We have the Three of Swords here, which can indicate betrayals, it can indicate certain difficulties or challenges within your life caused by other people interfering with the status quo that you have set for yourself. And so with that said, it's become quite difficult for you to keep all of this within yourself. And as a fixed sign, you can typically hold on to things just like the Taurians, just like the Leos, just like the Scorpios. We all have that problem. I am a Taurus, so I speak for myself when it comes to certain things. There are other aspects within your astrological makeup which can then determine whether or not you decide to hold on to those things, because as a Sagittarius rising, you know, there is a point where I finally get to it and say, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go down to the pub and have a beer and then kind of think about what I'm going to do next, because I have no choice. You know, so I don't like to hold on to things for too long. I'll get upset and then I'll just say, you know what, I'm going to roll over and just try to find a new path forward. Speaking of that new path forward, for you, what you know currently about your situation, you have the World, and what this talks about is concluding a cycle and getting onto that new cycle. And initially, what you didn't see coming was that you'd have the full reverse. That is about not wanting to take the leap forward in order to achieve something new, to start that new cycle. But you consciously know that that new cycle is coming. Clarify the World. What is the World about? So you have the Page of Cups in the reverse. Oftentimes this is about knowing what you need to tell yourself about a particular situation. This is a communication of emotional significance. So say, for example, you know that you've been stuck in a job that's too long. You say to yourself, okay, well, I need to get out of this. This is the truth that I need to know. Or perhaps you've been stuck in a relationship that has been has been unrequited or unreciprocated, you know, if that's a word. Let me see. Not reciprocated, let's just say that, just to be on the safe side. You think to yourself, how do I close this out? How do I finally draw this difficult period to a close? Because you, at the core, are holding on to a lot of pain and suffering. But knowing that in order for you to level up and to move into a better energy, there are things that you have to communicate internally. Again, it's Page of Cups in the reverse, but I look at that sometimes as pointed towards the Aquarian, which then insinuates that these are the conversations that you have within yourself. It's that inner monologue that drives us to start on the better path and to move forward. And there are a lot of YouTube videos that I've seen nowadays where they talk about people who lack that inner monologue. It's not that you yourself lack that inner monologue, it's what you need to have a conversation about within yourself, about everything that's taken place before the foundation before you is knocked from underneath your feet. So the outcome of all of this, if you choose to stay on the path that you're on now, you have the Four of Cups in the reverse and the Queen of Cups in the upright. This is you sitting back and reflecting on a missed opportunity that came about because things got to a cumulative head and you then therefore lucked out. So these again are the conversations that you will have with yourself as you navigate this difficult period. Holding on to power only allows for an equal or opposite reaction to take place. This is in physics, and this is pretty much in everything on a karmic basis within our lives. We think about the Justice card. What you do is what you receive. And there's the law of cause and effect that takes place for everything that we do in our lives. So with that said, the Queen of Cups does have that karmic kind of reflection that was needed. She's the one that sits with the large chalice, the most ornate chalice of all of the Cups cards. And even when you look at the King of Cups and the Queen of Cups card is much deeper, it's more reflective, it's more self-aware. And so you don't want to get to a situation where you are reflecting on a lost opportunity in your life. You want to try to nip this in the bud before it happens. I'm going to now pull you an Oracle deck card from Numerology and see what we have as your message. What message do we have for Aquarians? So, you are good enough. Think about what this means to you. Have you been trying to put forth an effort in your daily affairs where you are trying to prove your self-worth to other people or to yourself, and it's actually been doing more harm than good? Just understand, step back, take a deep breath, understand that you are good enough in your own right, and this is all that you need to know in order to achieve your goal. Before you provoke a disaster by holding on to the power of keeping control over every aspect of your life, to defend something that must die, that needs to die, you then have to step into that energy and know that you are good enough and that there's no need for you to keep pushing the narrative that you have to preserve things in your life by brute force. And I think you can avoid the worst of it here, which is this Three of Swords and this Nine of Wands, which is actually tiring you out. At your very core, your soul knows that this is a difficult path to walk. If you take the steps to introspect and to understand what it is that you need to do in order to overcome these feelings of a lack of self-worth, and then overcompensating for that with extreme efforts or maybe an inflated ego. I don't see any ego cards here per se. We do have the Queen of Wands in the reverse and the Emperor in the reverse. That can indicate an inflated ego. Before we get to the point where things get ugly in life, we want to step back and do some damage control and understand on an introspective level what it is that we are required to do in order to improve the quality of our life. So that is what I'm going to say for the month of August. Whatever it is that has triggered this, or that has been triggering this for some time, it is up to you now to take the necessary steps to mitigate this before it becomes a problem. So that's all I'll say for today. This is Aluminum Tarot. Thanks so much for joining. And as always, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort. Until next time, thank you. Love and light.